happy, following the blues. We love you, what more can we say? We have the tickets tops here at St Andrews. They gotta give us what we're longing for. It's Birmingham forever, let's hear it from the stand. So come on, City, sing this song once more.
It's Monday night, it's 6:30, it's dark outside, and welcome to the Tilton Talk Show. This is going to be a cracker tonight because I think we're all in a good mood for a change. I'm going to introduce you to the team tonight. In yellow, Craig Courtney.
Good evening, all.
And in red, Paul Hipkiss.
Evening, all.
In grey, the one and only chairman, Mr. Alan Watton.
Good evening, all.
And in beige, shall we say beige? Beautiful word, that, isn't it, beige? Fresh from work, Mark Adams.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're okay.
And the man in black with the headphones on, the one and only Mr. Chris Brown. And from myself, very good evening. This show is sponsored by Boyle Sports, principal sponsor of Birmingham City Football Club, coming to you now for the next 90 minutes. And here we go. Let's introduce you to our very special guest tonight, the one and only blues aficionado, sportsman, reporter, this, that, and the other. He's done a lot, ladies and gents, and he's been all over and seen it and done it. Great to have you back with us again, the one and only Mr. Chris Skudder.
Good evening, gents. KRO and all that. I've even got a T-shirt that says "End of the Road." Keep right on to the. It's actually nothing to do with football, but it's a music festival down. I go to quite often down in the south. But it's a good T-shirt, isn't it? End of the Road.
Yeah.
You'll do, mate.
Very
Well
good.
done.
Yeah. So we are in a good mood, aren't we? I was there on Friday night, and rare appearance for me because working at the weekends and everything in our business, it's not that easy. But yeah, it was great. I was amazed how good the atmosphere was. Thought it'd be a low crowd with the TV being live and everything, but it was great and good to see some old faces too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good crowd. Good atmosphere.
We've got ourselves a team now, haven't we? I think it's fair to say that after this many games now, I'm confidently saying we've got ourselves a team. They're all fighting for the badge. They're fighting for each other. They're fighting for us fans, and every single one of them is doing us proud. And long may it continue. You know, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, as I've said just before we went live, because you know, this league is that daft this season that a couple of defeats, you know, you're suddenly back down there, and a couple of wins, you're in the playoffs. So let's hope that we can keep picking up positive results on a regular basis now moving forwards between now and the end of the season. And like I've said before, the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there because nobody's running away with this league this season. So let's think positive. Obviously, I'm thinking positive, and I think this team now, if we can keep them all fit, you know, this team now has genuinely got what it takes. I think to push us on, definitely for top sort of 12, I'd say.
Definitely top half, yeah.
Well, it's not. It's the results, though, is it? It's the performance. It's the togetherness. It's a team spirit. That's something that we haven't seen for many, many years at St Andrews. And now, you know what it is? It's the crowd. It's coming back. The voice.
Yeah, you know what it is, though, Nick? You know, I noticed this. I'm not a regular visitor for the reasons I've just mentioned, but for the last 10 years, whenever I've gone, it's always flat as a pancake, you know, apart from the odd games.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you're
But
right.
it's I really noticed that the fans feed off what they see, and you could just sense. It felt like the old days to me. And that's really weird, you know. Given the fact that the front of the Tilton's gone and the front of the Copper's gone as well, I thought it was really great, you know. And that's because they like what they're seeing, you know. And the players feed off each other.
Yeah,
players feed off the crowd. Crowd feed off what the players are doing, and if you've got that, you know, you're laughing, I think, and that's a real step forward for me.
Yeah.
We are typical, right? We absolutely demand, and we haven't had what we've been demanding for many, many years, right? We've had everything unsettled, from the board to the management to the structure to the stadium to the everything within our football club has been a mishmash of a complete and utter mess for the last 10 years, 11 years. Yeah.
It's been as long as that, 10 years. It really has, hasn't it? It's just been not fun. It's not been fun.
It's been a chore. We can say it every week. It's been a chore. You come out at full time. You come in. I mean, you file out, your hands in your pockets, sort of yawning, looking down glum. But Friday, you could hardly yourself think because everyone was just buzzing. It was just, it was amazing.
I said before the season started, I've enjoyed 3 seasons since we got relegated, and that was under Houghton, Monk, and Gary Rowett. Obviously, Gary Rowett time as well, but this is definitely up there with those times this season so far. We've got he's put together a cracking side, and the recruitment has been outstanding. And full credit to Craig Gardner in what he's been doing as well for that. But yeah, we genuinely look like we're holding our own.
You've got to think though, Paul, that the Rowett era went wrong. Yeah, every era that we've had over the last 10 and 11 years has gone wrong, and I haven't seen a team so spirited, so together, so pulling for each other, and willing the crowd on as I'm watching now. I haven't seen it for years. Really encouraged.
We've got that a bit in the squad now. We've got that bit of extra quality as well. We've got we've got players on loan from the Premier League, haven't we? You can tell. A lot of them have probably got the lots of Longello, Trusty, Hannibal have definitely got the potential to play in the Premier League, and I hope that's going to be with us one day.
A lot of clubs in the Championship are doing it now. It's becoming a common path. Because what a grounding, and that league is a lot better than people think. I was with a QPR pal on Friday who's not seen much of Blues, and he agrees that the Championship is much better this season than it's been for a while, and I think that's probably because it's being fed with top players. It's always been competitive.
I think you get better every season, though, Chris. To be fair,
it
just seems to creep up that little millimetre by millimetre.
It's very watchable. I think it was a great game Friday. And it's interesting. I wrote an article for an Arsenal fan who has Blue Nose family, runs a fanzine or something down there, and he asked me to do something on Trusty, and I've noticed that they're all starting to pay attention now. If you look at Twitter, after Trusty scored the 2 goals the other week and the one on Friday, they're all starting to talk about him. Even the West Ham fans, Manny Longello, they like to know what's underneath, and they see the Championship now for what it is. It's a place where the players who are not getting regular football with them are playing at a very good standard, where it's very competitive, and it's going to be fantastic for them. Hopefully we can sign them, but
I think as well, if Messi or Ronaldo had scored that goal Trusty scored on Friday, it probably would have been on Sky Sports repeated at least 20 times over the last 3 days. That was he genuinely meant that, didn't he? It was absolutely.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just instinctive, wasn't it? I mean, it could have gone anywhere, but it went in.
And when they do, like the John Gale one at the Leyland Cup, you know what? You remember forever, don't you? I can still see that overhead kick at Wembley in 1991. I can still vividly hear that. The most enormous roar I think I've ever heard in my life when that goal in. It was incredible, and you score one of them, you score 3 maybe in your lifetime, and that's it. I wrote something on social media on Friday, and I was a little bit disturbed with. And I don't want you to actually have to comment on this. You can if you wish, but entirely up to you. How London-centric Sky are again, and how much they are against Birmingham City Football Club. I don't know. I didn't watch it. Who was the pundit on Friday? Elias somebody.
Who?
Elias somebody. I don't know.
No.
Lee Hendry.
Lee Hendry. Yeah, Lee Hendry. Yeah.
It's his dad is a Blue Nose. I know. I've met Lee. So he's okay actually. I know he's one of them. But
Lee co-commentated on the Baggies game when we beat the Baggies, and I thought he was actually quite partial, if I'm honest, for a Villa fan.
Better than Don Goodman, I think. I know Don as well, but he always never has a good word about Blues. Don't know why.
Oh yeah.
I think Lee's fair. I think. Paul. Who remembers Paul Hendry? I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
1974, 3.
Yeah. Me, Alan, and Nick probably do.
There's all got a twinkle in my mother's eye then.
I can't remember him ever scoring a goal for Blues, but he was in the same team as Trev, wasn't he? And Bob Latchford and that. It was kind of in and out of the team. People like Jimmy Calderwood. Remember him? Jimmy Calderwood.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. People were sort of fringe players, but part of that really great period where the crowds were big and we were decent. Very Very good.
We've had hang on, Paul. We've had nearly 100 comments so far, so I'll just slip through a few of them just so we can catch up here. Nigel says, "Pleasure being back to having a smile back on my face walking out of the ground." Dennis wants to know what's happened to Nick's hair. Longhello there's a lot of talk about Longhello. What a goal! Was a cracking goal that wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Robe goes, points come, and Mark's friend Hannibal has made some difference. Here's a good one, Chris. I think. What does Chris think about the potential takeover from Lopez?
Yeah, well,
let's get straight into it. Come on.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that today, and there's one word that lingers for me right now, and it is 5 letters: limbo. Limbo. That's what it is. It's I was just walking in front of the director's box the other night. Shane was there. Who else was there? Craig, usual thing. And Max was there. That's all really. The way I look at it is the Chinese. They want to spin this out because they need to find something to fill the Hong Kong listing. Take the club away, sell it now, they're going to lose their listing. So it's going to take them a while to fill it with something. I don't know what. So the longer it takes for them, it gives them time to get everyone off their backs. And it's now, it's fallen on Lopez and Richardson to show that they've got the money and they have the inclination to do this. Now, it's obviously complicated by the EFL because they're going to be asking all kinds of questions about, the club as a going concern. Who is paying the wages at the moment? Do we really know? Is it Lopez and Richardson, or is it the Chinese, or is it a bit of both? The EFL, what they want is that somebody's going to run it as a going concern. So all the checks are going to take a while because I don't know really what kind of. The trouble is, you've got the people in China, you've got people who say they're running the club at the moment, and the EFL is a kind of middleman. So at some point, there's going to have to be, is this on or is this not? Isn't there? It seems to be a bit weird. When I spoke to Paul Richardson on the phone, I spoke to him about half an hour a few months ago, and he was very keen. One question I did ask him was, what was his background at Blues? He's not like a lot of us maybe in this room now. His dad wasn't a football fan, so he didn't get it like that. It's something he's kind of acquired, or he's been along in the last sort of 10 years or so, possibly. He's not maybe the diehard that we all are, but he was around when Carson got into all those problems, and he was involved in potentially getting hold of the club. That didn't happen, and it went to the people who are running the club now, unfortunately. So it's a mess. Limbo is what is probably a good word at the moment. There's nobody really knowing, but if you keep winning, people don't notice, do they? Blues have been losing now. If we'd have got beaten and didn't start this season very well, did we?
No.
And it looked, that if that had continued, I think now the pressure would really be on.
And the protests as well.
The protests, it's died back. The old football adage: it's as good as your last result, really. And there's a genuine feeling of optimism at the moment, I'd say.
Yeah,
but that's all. That's because Craig Gardner's done a great job. I had a chat with Craig as I was going past the other day, and he seemed fairly pleased. He's done a great job. But he's got great contacts, especially at Man United with Darren Ferguson. And he's got West Ham as well. So, and if Premier League clubs see their players getting great exposure at a club like Blues, they're going to keep doing it with a bit of luck.
I said after the game, my three words.
Appearance this year. Oh, she's baby. Chris, shouldn't we just declare war on China and seize their assets?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Over to you.
Simple enough, isn't it? Yeah.
Now, listen, and unless the EFL force the hand, and there's so many different theories going around at the moment. I don't think anyone really knows where it's going, but the new people are waiting. Have they got the money? Have they not got the money? Or are the AFL asking questions about the old lot, or the soon-to-be old lot, about the involvement of Mr. King, allegedly? So, it's an imponderable, really.
Question.
Craig, I think, you wanted to come in there, didn't you?
Yeah,
I was going to say, on Friday, I asked everybody, as I do after every game, for 3 words, and the 3 words that sum it up for me at the moment: a feel-good feeling. It's there. Everybody, there was an air of optimism before kickoff against QPR, which I've not felt going into a ground for a while. We're always thinking, against top teams, that's it, we're not going to have a chance. But actually, people thought we were going to get a result. When we came out, and I've seen some of the comments, never smiled so much, never heard such positive comments. It's back, and now what the club have got to do is focus on maintaining that. I'm not going to say we're going to go away and win every single game, but if they turn up and play like they did on Friday and they go and lose 2-0, then nobody's going to complain. But if they start doing like they did that second, third game into the season, when they were just looked as though they were completely down and out and didn't care, and then that's all going to start come back, and we'll start getting that negativity back. I want to shout out one player as well. We've mentioned Hannibal, but one other player that, for me, has not looked out of sorts and has strengthened the team, in my honest opinion, is Harley Dean.
Yeah, I agree.
He's like a new man, hasn't he?
He's got good players next to him, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
in a 3 like that, he, Trusty is good. Sanderson's decent. So in the past, Harley Dean and Mark Roberts together, bit dodge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mistakes in
a
them.
really serious question for the whole team, right? I want you to discuss this amongst yourselves, or I'm gonna back up to ask the question.
Mark Roberts.
If we continue to play like we've been playing for the last few weeks, and I know it's a big I and a big F, right? We creep up that table, do you think the Chinese will want to keep hold of us?
That's it's a great question.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, the longer it kind of, it's a muddle through, isn't it? And they're kind of, let's get it straight. They don't want to lose the listing, do they? If they lose, they lose the listing, I think. So, they want time. So they've got somebody coming in and maybe paying some of the bills, we think, at the moment. So it kind of works for them. And it's a bit woolly, within, what was it, a 2-year time frame? But shoot me down if you like, but I mean, I think most Blues fans would settle for that, wouldn't they? If the team is improving, and the handover has to be slow.
I don't know, Chris. What about the longer term?
Well,
and I think I'm saying that because of what I've seen over the last 11 years.
If somebody said to me now,
I mean, listen, we all know it's a disaster, but if it's not going to be quick, this isn't going to happen next week, I don't think. So if it does take 2 years and the team is improving all the time, then most people would settle for that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I'd take it any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Especially knowing that Maxi and Paul are the two, involved.
I think it's since we put the new mats in reception. I reckon the gypsies underneath all the old mats.
No, nobody has mentioned the beard at all, have they? No one's mentioned the beard.
We've only lost one game since we changed the mats in reception. Never mentioned the fact they've only been in for 4 days, right? But you know what I mean.
Tell you what I did, guys. Tell you what I did notice. Because I was in the Jasper on Friday, and the mood in there was really upbeat. I thought it really was. When I came into the double doors, when that big protest was there, everyone's banging on the windows. When was that, last season? Yeah. When I came in, there was 4 times more staff than used to be, Everyone was sort of jumping to attention, and everyone was, checking this, that, and the other. It just felt like a bit more professional. It just felt a bit more urgent, like a club that was going somewhere. Compared to I see it all through that prism of 10 years of total decline and ruin. That's what it's been. Seems I was the Spurs game when we got relegated in 2011.
Yeah,
I was with Alex. I was at that game. I was with Alex McLeish, and he said, "I said, don't you're not going to leave, are you?" A month later, he was gone. But it was as soon as that happened, really, it was just downhill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that the home games. I think the Blues always had a good away support, so it doesn't really give you a good idea of what it's like. It's the home games where you mark it, don't you? It's a bit like you look at Man United, all the troubles they've had since Fergie left. Their home games are like a morgue usually. It's like that. It's been like that at Blues, isn't it? You go there, and it's sort of flat. And where was the old? God, my book, which you can see behind me there, Underdogs and Newshounds. It's a World Cup book, but it's
Have you not mentioned your book?
Not yet. No, I haven't. I just have now. But the Blues is the backdrop, and there's a lot of stuff from, how the club informed what I went on to do, and the kind of magic from those early days, late 60s, 70s, for me. I've just not been, there. And you compare it to the last 10 years, you just cannot. It's a tragedy, really, that what's happened. But it just the other night just reminded me that this place can be fantastic.
Yeah,
hostile. That all the things that made it great. The night games. Yeah. It was like that in the 90s and the Baz. It's great. I remember, do you remember when we played Brentford that night, that one when we got promoted, 95, was it?
Yeah.
It was absolutely rocking. Third division place, absolutely rocking. Yeah. The Ipswich games in the cup.
Ipswich.
Oh my God, it was fantastic.
I think that's the game that broke the stands. I think
it was. You wouldn't have wished to be anywhere else that night. It's just unbelievable. And the West Ham game in the cup, and the Villa game in the cup when we beat them in the start of that 10 years of decline. There's been nothing like it since, has there?
No.
Can I just tell you?
I think we're over it.
Chris. We're already getting recommendations for your book coming in. There you go.
Hey, happy days.
I don't know.
There's lots of Blues in it. Trust me.
Yeah. Some Carol Sunderland's just said.
Fulham game had its own special atmosphere as well.
Sorry.
The Fulham game where we needed to win that one to stay in the league. We'll celebrate. I mean,
was that a draw?
Going back to
no, we won that.
Goal in the last game. We'll celebrate a draw like Man United will celebrate winning the Champions League.
Oh, we're good at that.
Yeah. I just made a good point here from Michael Harrison. He just said, without Bielik, we wouldn't be where we are. He's simply brilliant and does all the dirty clean-up work.
I really would. Going back.
Every word of that. He's been absolutely outstanding since he joined us.
Absolutely. We don't want to go back, do we?
No. Mark, just on the while we've got you, there's an awful lot of comments, especially from our friend Mark Meredith out in the States. So good morning to you, sir. I think it still is. He wants to know where's Mark's marks on Hannibal, and that's been a couple of comments now on a few of them. So, Mark, let's hear your marks on Mark's Hannibal, please. Over to you.
Can we do it out of 10? Out of 10 this time, yeah? Should we give it out of 10?
Oh, was it 5 or 10?
I reckon 10.
Oh, because I've only given 3.9.
Well, that's about enough. I think.
That's 7.8.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's already there.
7.8. He's unlucky not to get the 8. I mean, I've said week after week, it's just a breath of fresh air. Ever since he walked in the club.
that guys, he got told off, didn't he? Allegedly by we're gonna have a word with him. Do you see that? Because he's been a bit aggressive.
By his,
trust me, that is a classic example of a quote that is out of context. The headline was, "We're going to have a word with him," as in, "I'm going to have a word with you." That's not what happened. We're going to have a word with him because somebody asked. He's made a big difference. His aggression, and sometimes he oversteps the mark. And Eustace has said, "Yeah, we'll have a word with him about that." But listen, they don't want to lose that aggression because he makes a massive difference, like a bit like Robbie Savage. That kind of.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But it's not a story where he's been told off. Not at all. It's just, he needs to just be careful of curbing it, I think he's going to be a very good player.
Do you think we'll see him start on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same 11, it'd be the same 11 that started the QPR game.
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah. I'd start the same 11, to be fair.
Yeah, the only reason why he wouldn't is maybe because we've got a game Saturday as well, and he might want to maybe freshen it up a little bit. But I don't know. I'd like to think we can play because we've got the World Cup coming up. We've got a month off anyway.
What do you need to Paul, when it looks as fresh as it does? It looks like a brand new apple picked off a tree.
Yeah. So I don't see any reason to change it, even though we have got a game on Saturday as well. I'd put them through these 3 games. If it means giving them a day off training, then do that instead. Because, for me, we've got a good 11 there. And if we can get, if we are going to be consistent, then I think you need to stick to the same 11, in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, we have got players that can come in and do a good job for us. But I just don't think anybody needs to be left out. And the one who's really unlucky because of that is Bakuna. Obviously. Yeah. But, it's a nice problem to have, isn't it?
Mind you, going back to the first 11, Paul, I don't know if anyone else noticed it. It was really good to see Etheridge and Mike Taylor at the end as well.
Rudder.
I mean,
Rudder,
they're all proper, proper.
Yeah, that just shows you what the spirit is just has really lifted, hasn't it? I mean, you can see it. What was it? The one I noticed really was the win at Preston. That post-match thing was quite a revelation, I thought, when the players went to the Blues fans and Eustace came out, and it just felt like that was a turning point somehow.
Absolutely, yeah.
And well, if you start the season at that game, what is it, about four or 5 wins and 1 defeat since then, something like that?
Yeah.
I think it is, isn't it?
Must be.
It just seems to have been, a couple of draws probably as well, but it just felt like that. Once you've got that, it counts for such a hell of a lot, doesn't it?
I really love that goals against column. I sit there looking at the table, thinking 15 and 17 games. That'll do for me. That's what
it is. 15. You can see that's very good, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what I want to see from my team.
Yeah. The goal difference, Alan, as well, +3. I mean, that's done that.
Yeah, we could. We should be +5 or 6, but we won't go back on the strikers. I mean, they didn't let us down on Friday because they weren't given the opportunities. But we kept them stuck in their half for most of the game. The defenders came up with the goals. That's fine.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And it's good that other players are chipping in with goals as well, and we're not just relying on them. Obviously.
Yeah. We said
Trusty's got 3 now, and obviously Longello's off the mark. Holding's got 1 as well. We're starting to fit the goals across the team. I'd like to see Chong get a few. I must say, and Hannibal as well when he plays. I know Bakuna's got is it 2 Bakuna's got? Sorry, or 1? He's got 1 at.
It's 2 in it.
Is it 2?
He got
the one away.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
He got the 1 at Hull. What was the other one? What was the other goal he scored?
Home game, I think, wasn't it?
Everybody's trying to think now.
I thought it was just the 1, but anyway. Here's a question to everyone and all our viewers. What's our goal of the season so far?
Oh, it's got to be the Road Red for me.
Well, Trusty.
Yeah.
What about the Burnley equaliser?
I'll go for the third goal at West. The third goal at West Brom. Counter attack.
Was that the one on the break, Chris? When Hogan?
Yeah.
That was a great goal.
And obviously, Bakuna's
it's just so efficient. Bakuna was involved in that, wasn't he? Bakuna, and it was just everything. Just boom, it was in the net before you knew it. A great goal.
Yeah, that was a brilliant goal. Wasn't it, on the counter attack? We put some pretty good goals already, haven't we? Some good.
We have, yeah.
We have. Can I just say as well? I hope Troy gets another year and not at this rate, because he gets a fair amount of stick onto social media, but I think Troy's been brilliant the last few weeks.
He'll be on the staff as the coaching staff. I just couldn't help noticing. He's always having a little word with everybody. And I think he's massively experienced. I don't know if you heard the podcast he did with Louis Theroux. Did anyone hear that? It was really interesting. It was a while back. It was last year, but it was about his life.
All right, okay.
And you just got that feeling that he has got a lot to give. People criticize, okay, he doesn't run around much, but he's got a lot to give. His heart's in the right place too. I think I did notice it the other night. Just people, something happened, and he'd just have a word with a player and chipping away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of comments around the Bakuna goal being the favourite. Also, we've seen quite a few comments now. Not only with the gentlemen winning on Friday, but what a fantastic comeback for the ladies yesterday. As well with their 2-1 win. And as Steve Portman's raised, there were also some of the first team squad there, along with a lot of the personnel from the club there supporting the women as well, which
that's good.
Just fantastic.
Yeah,
that filled with factors all around.
Where are they in the league at the moment, the women? I haven't looked.
I think they're 6th at the moment. A few points behind top spot, but with top spot to play. And a game in hand, so it should, if all goes to plan, it could all bring us back into the situation.
The goal was a cracking one. The shot from the end was a cracking goal, top corner, great goal.
Yeah.
Just coming back onto Troy a minute, I'll never forget what Tommy Mooney said when he came on, that he just needed a pre-season under his belt and a few games to get himself going again, and he's done exactly that. And look at the difference now. He's in the sort of last half a dozen, 6 to 8 games, something like that. He's been outstanding, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Absolute quality.
Chris, you've joined us this evening. Tell us a little bit about your book. I'm
going to donate just your charity thing. So,
good.
It is. Let me just. There's one for the old boys here. You see
that
badge here? I'll try and get it a bit closer without making it disappear.
Yeah, the little Bo Brummie on the bottom, is it?
Bo Brummie.
Yeah.
I've had that scarf. Roy Smiljanic took the pictures, by the way.
All right.
Float Roy.
Good old Roy. Roy's the best, isn't he?
Excellent. Great chap.
I had that scarf since about 1969, something like that. Remember the old bar? You can't get scarves like that anymore with the light, with the bands down. Used to see them on the Cop at Anfield. It's the first time I saw that scarf. I need one of those. And that badge, little part of it on my soul. That badge, I've had it since I was a kid. I used to have the crest, the city crest, which I notice around the ground now. Bring it back. It's something that the Villa don't have. The city crest. Got a badge on my scarf, but it was ripped off. I lost it. Somebody pulled. I think tried to steal my scarf years ago, and it got ripped. But old scarves are great. That's over 50 odd years. But what's it? The book is it's called Underdogs and Newshounds: A World Cup Odyssey, and it's basically I've done the last 7 World Cups, so it's a road book really about what it's like to A, go to a World Cup, and B, cover it. So it's stories from the road really, which makes it a bit different than just books about the World Cup, about the football. To me it's about the people and the places. And I don't know if anyone's been to a World Cup, but they are fantastic things. This is going to be a different one because the travel aspect isn't going to be there, except that a lot of the England fans I know, Blues fans, some Villa fans as well, are going to Dubai and they're going to be in and out of Qatar because it's so expensive to stay there. But that whole premise of the travel aspect and the people and the places, it's quite unique, and it's the best part. I could go to a World Cup and not go to any games, and it wouldn't make a difference. In fact, some of the stories in the book sort of bear that out. When I was in Brazil, 2 of the best experiences I had were watching Brazil play from the streets. Right. Imagine if you're going to go to a World Cup, where would you? I mean, Brazil is the home of the game spiritually, isn't it? I mean, here, obviously, with but Brazil there's something about it where it's just magic, It just feels like you're at home, and everyone talks football, and the kids playing in the street and on the beach. And I watched Brazil play. I think it was the game against Chile in the second round game in 2014. They went on a penalty shootout, and there were so many people on the Copacabana beach, and there was like a fan zone, which they'll be having at this World Cup as well, but there were so many people on the beach that you couldn't get anywhere near it, but the screens were big enough. So I watched it up to my waist in water. people were watching, and people had footballs and they were playing on the beach. It was just incredible, and it felt like was a unique experience. You were not in the grounds where it cost 300 quid for a ticket. You were with real football fans watching together from a unique place, and you can imagine what it was like on the beach when Brazil won that game. A penalty shootout, that place went absolutely mad. And the other time was when they played. Remember the game when Neymar got injured and he did his back it was the quarterfinal against Colombia.
Yeah.
And I was watching that in Salvador. I went to the quarterfinal, which would have been England's route, but they cocked it up, and that quarterfinal turned out to be Costa Rica, which might have been England against the Dutch. And the night before that, Brazil played their quarterfinal, and I watched it in the old town in Salvador, which is really old Portuguese architecture, but very African feel to Brazil. It sticks right out into the ocean, that side of Brazil. But because the tickets were so expensive in Brazil, and it's even worse in Qatar. Unbelievably expensive the tickets are. The people, the real fans, watched in the streets, and people in the old town just put their tellies out the window. And people were selling drinks in the street. So it was like a party, like a street party, right? And you watched the World Cup, and it just felt like a unique thing. And I'd much rather have been there than playing, for a corporate ticket or whatever in the stand in the stadium. So when I say about travel, that's what I mean. You meet people from all over the world, and it could be anywhere really. But that was, a great example of the kind of magic. And you come back and you think, I really experienced that World Cup. So, I've done the last 7, but the whole book though is informed by Blues. That's how I grew up.
Chris, can I ask you a question? What's the best World Cup goal you've ever seen live?
Michael Owens, I think.
Well,
St Etienne won, it's 98. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely. Yeah, we all, as I said in the book, I turned round. I was in the sort of press seats. I turned around and all the English guys, the England media, were just on their feet and cheered like a crowd. It was everyone just went up because they'd all been campaigning for him to play. And I turned around, I saw Paul McCarthy. I'm standing on the bloody console. But yeah, that was amazing. It was a great World Cup. They all are. They all are. For anyone who goes to, we all go to, Blues away days are great, aren't they? A lot of people the real diehards, the away games are the best, aren't they?
Oh, definitely.
And it's like that. You do a World Cup and you go to all the places, and especially when you follow a team and then you don't know the path. There's a kind of adventure about it. You don't win your group, or you do win your group, and then you hope, and you haven't got the tickets, so you have to change your flight plans. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And then you end up, and you have travel stories that you never thought you were going to get, and you meet people you never thought you were going to meet. That kind of thing. And that's what my book's about, really, that kind of magic. And the football weaves in with that as well. So it's like Russia I ended up in Siberia, and came back, and it's a real tragedy what's going on at the moment, because I'm still in touch with at least 4 people regularly about the war, and none of them are very happy about it. It's a real shame. But
and our chances this year, obviously in the World Cup. What are your thoughts, and what sort of formation, and quickly, what sort of team would you pick for England? From everyone's.
Well, I think we all know what it's going to look like, don't we? It's interesting.
Safe.
Henry Winter did a tweet earlier this evening. A good mate of mine, Henry, and he thinks that the 5 starters for England, which I thought was quite interesting. Well, you tell me, and I'll see what he thought.
I'd go. I think he'll go Sterling, definitely.
Yeah, I think that was one of them.
I think Kane will definitely be
That's another one of them.
Should be Jude.
Rice. Got to be Jude Bellingham.
Surely.
4 out of 4. You're doing well, Paul.
And probably Pickford in goal as well.
Happy days. Those are the 5. I think you're right. I mean, those. Jude is. What an incredible story. I don't know if any of you guys were in.
Fantastic.
I went to the Pompey game in August 2019, 3 years ago, and he came out. That was the first time I'd seen Jude. It was his debut, wasn't it? But I was on the sideline, I was on Sky that night, and I wasn't working, but I was just talking to some people, and Jude came past me, just after his 16th birthday, and I looked at him and I thought, this kid looks like a racehorse. He looked like a thoroughbred, something about him. And he was kind of focused. He came out and you could just see. And as soon as the game started, you could just see he wasn't fazed at all.
No.
And that's 3 years ago. And if you'd asked me then, would he be a first pick for this World Cup? I'd have said no, surely not. Surely too soon. But he's earned every single. You
earn it, you can have it.
He's earned it. I mean, but what an incredible rise, isn't it?
I think sorry, Chris. I think him and Phil Foden could be our standout players if he plays Phil Foden. Because
I'm not sure Foden will start. I'm not sure he will. He's a great talent, hugely. But what the difference between Foden and Bellingham for me is Jude's mentality. There's something about that boy that he's got from his dad and his mum.
Yeah.
That just tells you that he's not going to waste his career, and he's like a kid in the park. I thought Grealish was a bit like that, but Grealish got the same mentality as Jude, but he plays with the same abandon, doesn't he, that Jude does. They are like kids in the park. They get out there and they just want to play. They just want to play. But he's definitely got a Foden hasn't quite got the same mentality that Bellingham has, and it's why he'll captain England.
Does he?
And he'd probably be. I honestly think that he's probably going to be the next England player to lift the World Cup. Think about that.
Wow.
It won't be this one. I don't think it'll be this one, but 2026 wouldn't bet against it. 2026 as a captain, he'll be captain. He'll be captain 2026. Definitely captain 2026, and he could be the man.
I watched the Dortmund game on Saturday night, and they didn't play very well, Dortmund, and he wasn't having the best of times. But when they came out second half, having been battered, the goalkeeper made 5 miraculous saves. You look to him, and he was the one that got the grip of the game. He was the leader. And okay, he went and got a wonderful winning goal as well to add to it. But you could see on his face when he walked off, he looked almost angry. And then when he came back on the second half, he took over. Give me the ball, and I will pass it, and we will get this thing moving. And it's amazing. And you're right. He's like a 26-year-old in a 18-year-old's body, isn't he? It's amazing that what he does for so little experience.
Yeah. What was the game when England just before the little blip where we got beaten by Hungary? The 4-0. Was it 4-0? I noticed that when there was somebody got injured and there was a shot. I wasn't there, but I just saw it too. The Southgate suddenly had a word with Jude. Jude was playing right back at one time. He was going all over the pitch, but he was wanting to get forward all the time. I noticed that Southgate was saying it looked like he was not telling him off, but saying, big, don't da. But that's what I love about Bellingham. He just wants to play, doesn't he? Just give me the ball. You're right. He just give me the ball.
I think he could have the same impact on this World Cup that Gaza did in 1990. He genuinely,
you might be right.
Genuinely, if we play to our strengths, which is attacking, then I think we could be a serious threat to anybody. But if we play,
I'm a bit concerned. If you look at England are probably going to play either Holland or Senegal in the second round. Tricky, both of those. Mane is a great player, isn't he? That's a tricky one for me. England will be really, really careful in that game like that. It'll be really, really. I've always thought, when is it going to be? When's the big African breakthrough going to be in a World Cup? You go back to 1990. You just mentioned there. Do you remember? Was it
Cameroon?
Cameroon. It was.
Cameroon.
Roger Milo and that. But it's been 32 years since then. Is this going to be the one? Because it's different, isn't it? This World Cup, we're all playing league football until literally a week before. England's squad is not named until the 16th of November. The first game is the 21st. It's very. So there's going to be injuries. Everyone's going to get them. Brazil have got some injuries at the moment. We just don't know. You just don't know, do you? And I just wonder. I personally think that the two teams to beat in this World Cup are going to be the usual suspects, Brazil and Argentina. I think both of them are going to be really hard.
Yeah, definitely. But I think
but one of the Africans, I just got a thing about the Africans. I just think one day this is going to happen. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
It is going to happen.
Yeah.
We saw. Sorry, Chris. We saw exactly what England are all about. What we can be when we went 2-0 down to the Germans in the last game. You know, he took the handbrake off.
Yeah.
He went 4-3-3.
Jude made that first goal, didn't he? When he just instead of passing it sideways, when he got that ball, remember, and he took a bloke on in the centre circle. No other player in that England team would have done that. I don't think.
Exactly.
Grealish maybe, but he just went, didn't he? And he opened them up, and they scored. We scored. That's what we've got to do. That caution that Southgate's a bit accused of. We just need to let the handbrake off. I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You don't want to come back from a tournament and say, "If only we know." Italy, you know, that should have won the Euro. Should have won the Euros. Never get a better chance than winning the Euros.
No.
Than that game. Go goal up, and then just thought, oh, we're ahead. Let's hang on to it.
Yeah.
Better than Italy.
Loads of comments coming in. Argentina is Brazil is my final from Stephen Gill.
Yeah, I think that'll be.
Chris Brown, get your boots on. Southgate will be calling from Nigel Mann. Benji Smith just says Pogba has just been ruled out.
Was it rehab?
Going back to the book, Chris. How much does it cost and where can we get it from?
Well, it's cost you £11.50. You get it
Bargain.
That's bargain. It's got pictures there.
Oh, good. It needs pictures for us.
But listen, but it's not just. There's a couple of bits. One of the chapters it's when you start writing these things. My kind of wanderlust, if you like, which kind of football tourism, if you like. When I was in South Africa, I was there for 3 months. I was working for Sky, and when the tour, when it sort of ended, we were rubbish, weren't we? God, we were rubbish in South Africa, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. I thought, right, South Africa, and I thought my blues hat on. I thought I want to go to Spionkop, which is the home of the mountain, the hill, which all English terraces were named. So I thought, well, I must go down there. And it's about 3-hour drive from Johannesburg. You just go south. You drive out and try and dodge all the bullets and everything when you come in Johannesburg, because it's like that. And it's only about 2-hour drive from Rorke's. What, you know, you go there, the Zulu warriors. You know, I'll tell you, this is a true story. I went to the battleground. If you ever get a chance, go. It's incredible. Such an evocative place where, you know, the Rorke's Drift and the great the VCs were all, the Victoria Crosses were won on the same day that nearly 1,200 British soldiers were wiped out by men with spears. Isandlwana, erased from British history pretty much, but it happened. You know, it might have been the same day as Rorke's Drift, when a load of Brummies and Welsh blokes defended that garrison. But earlier in the day, the rest of them were wiped out by 20,000 blokes with spears. That's what happened. And the I told there's a guide to do. You're standing in the area where this all happened. All these people were massacred and everything. And I said to the guide, the Zulu warriors, have you ever heard of the Zulu warriors of Birmingham? And he never had. That's probably in his talk now. Because he was asking me about the impacts around the world of the Zulu name. He didn't know about the blues firm, the hooligan firm, you know, which he does now. But it was but yeah, that's that kind of thing. So very close together, Rorke's Drift and Spionkop, which was a fascinating place because it's basically just a hill, and there was a guy there telling me. I asked him how did that ever come to be. It was just the time when the terraces were football was exploding in England. It was that great bank, and at the time the news story was the Boer War, and Spionkop was this mountain where British soldiers all got killed in a big battle. And Churchill was there, and so was Gandhi. Incredible story. But straight after that hill, it's not terraced; it's just kind of like a big bank, a bit like the Spionkop was. When the Spionkop was built in Birmingham, so what was it, when the Blues moved to St Andrews, 1905, wasn't it?
1905, yeah.
Right, exactly. The Second Boer War ended in 1901. And the Kop at Liverpool. The Kop at Liverpool was probably the first, I think. And then everyone took that name, didn't they? Because Kop means hill, basically.
I'm trying to think, Chris, how many Spionkops there actually are.
Quite a few. There's quite a few. Sheffield Wednesday.
Quite an interesting point, Chris. But I can also tell you, right, that Birmingham City Spionkop back in the day was the second steepest in the country.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, listen,
Was it?
I pretty much grew up on that terrace.
Manchester City's was the first, ours was the second steepest.
Yeah. Well, that's the Kippax. It's Kippax.
Main Road, yeah.
Which line, can't you?
I think it was that steep, so it was just quicker for the urine to come straight down,
Well,
like without interfering with people.
It's interesting, that when that cop, the spine cop was built, according to legend, and I'm pretty sure this is true, that it was built on a swamp, wasn't it? Where the gypsies were there, and they moved them out the way, and they put the curse down. And the club said, "We need to build a bank. Bring your rubbish to St Andrews."
Really?
Yeah, it's that mound. You remember you used to walk up the Coventry Road back in the day, and the big grassy bank right at the back.
Big muddy.
That was built on piles of rubbish. The locals were asked to bring stuff. They made a massive mound, and then they put steps over the top of it. That's basically it.
So now we know the problem.
The irony is that the same things happened when Gold Sullivan Brady built the problem allegedly with the rotting stuff that's causing the problem with the stand at the moment. It's because there was a lot of rubbish underneath it, which is all festered. Not the same original stuff, but they didn't. I don't think they cleared it. When the old stand, the cop was sort of dismantled and they built over the top of it, they didn't move all the rubbish out the way and start again. It was kind of left.
Well, half that rubbish.
I think that may well have been part of the problem that's caused the rusting of the stuff that the bolts and the braces that hold the stand up. Incredible, really. But that's definitely true about the old rubbish dump. That's what it was built on.
Yeah.
Didn't they find the remains of a horse?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that was behind the Tilton. But
some old photos. I saw one
there for 100 years.
Yeah. Some old photos of going way back. When that was built. You can just imagine it. People turning up with horse and carts and tipping their stuff, and and then you put some concrete steps over the top of it, and that's
some proper old school stuff down there.
Yeah.
So there again, Nick.
If you could do like an archaeological dig down there, I bet you some proper.
I bet there is, yeah.
God, I bet it'd be fascinating. Yeah. Mark wants to know: can he get you a book in Texas?
You can get it. It's on Amazon in the UK. But if you go on to if you Google it, Underdogs and That News Sounds, you'll find the publisher's website. They're called Projectis, Projectis Publishing. You can buy it there. It's the cheapest way to buy it. You buy it direct from the publisher, and they post it out for free and stuff. It costs you $11.50, and they post to the States as well. I did a thing for an American radio station last week. We were talking about stuff because they've got the next World Cup, haven't they? But it's on my Twitter as well. You can find it on my Twitter, and there's a link, and if you just tells you how to order it. But it's that's the cheapest way of doing it. £11.50. Money well spent.
That's brilliant, Chris. Absolutely brilliant.
What I have done also, it is Halloween. I thought you guys were going to be in fancy dress, so
we are.
Well, a pumpkin.
Crying out loud!
I found this. Don't tell my missus, but she's left it in the kitchen this morning. I wrote that on it.
Excellent.
I wrote that on it.
Look at that.
You can tell it's Halloween because if I do that, it disappears. Magic.
Scary.
Even better. You turn it around the other way.
No, that's more.
No, somebody else must have done. That wasn't me. There you go. There you go. Smashing pumpkins. What?
Go on, Paul.
We've been doing, Chris, an underrated blues, like underrated unsung heroes, blues 1 to 11 over the last sort of 10 weeks. And we're now on the final player in the 11. So basically, we want a striker to go up front with Cameron Jerome, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Underrated. How do you qualify underrated, though?
We basically
that's going to be
our viewers. So our viewers will comment on who they think it should be, and whoever gets the most votes in each position wins. So we've got Colin Doyle in goal. We've got right back he's testing me now, Craig. Right back was Jerry Gill. Centre halves were Dave Barnett and Gary Ablett. Left back was David Murphy. Left mid was Damian Johnson. In the middle was Peter Shearer and who was with Shearer? Chris Marsden.
Marston, yeah. Marston.
Yeah, and then right mid was John McCarthy.
Yeah.
And then up front was Cameron Jerome. So we want somebody with Cameron Jerome up front that's kind of like...
I'll give you one. This is from back in the day. Alan Buckley.
Alan Buckley.
Good player.
Yeah, good one.
Okay, the Warsaw guy.
Yeah, he played for Blues. I remember seeing him.
Yeah.
He was a good goal scorer, he was. Good goal.
I'm going to say Peter Unlove would be my choice.
I'm going to stick with Andy Saville.
There's a few for Stern John.
Yeah, a lot of people said
underrated.
He's not underrated, though.
I don't think he's underrated.
He was rated. But I'd say the same about Cameron Jerome, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Nicky Forster as well as one.
You know what I mean?
Forster.
We're not.
Keep your eye on the votes anyway, Craig, and we'll decide what we.
There's another one for Chucho Benitez, Zigic. There's another one for Benitez there as well. So Andy Saville. Andy Saville. That's a good shout. You know, that's a good shout. Yeah.
Well, he was good.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw my Jeff Bowden in again this week. Still think
Bowden.
We need one.
He's in my book, by the way, Jeff Bowden. You have to tell me why he was in the book.
Oh, why was he in the book?
Yeah.
First hat-trick by substitute.
Huh?
First hat-trick by substitute.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. No, he was just... I just remember him because the game that made me a Blues fan, that changed everything for me, was and I bet there's nobody here who's old enough to remember, 68. Yeah, 68, fifth round FA Cup tie against Arsenal. Remember that?
Yeah, yes. I was behind that goal when he headed it.
That was the overhead kick. Barry Bridges.
Barry Bridges, yes.
Barry Bridges overhead kick. Best goal ever scored at St Andrews. But nobody filmed it and nobody took a picture of it. But Bob Wilson, who I came to know through telly, said it was the best goal he'd ever conceded. And it won us the cup. We started tonight, didn't we? Talking about magic nights at St Andrews.
That was
51,000. Not an all-ticket game. Never happened these days. And they reckon there was 10,000 outside.
What year was it, Chris?
68. Jeff Bowden scored the goal. We were second division. Arsenal were like mighty Arsenal. We played them in the cup. We played them away, and we were losing 1-0, and Jeff Bowden equalised, which brought the replay to St Andrews, and that never to be forgotten night. And everybody I remember my dad and all the old boys, I was on his knee that night. They all said that was, what a night. And I'd never seen a crowd like that before. The Cop and the Tilton. I was just mesmerised by it.
Swaying.
Absolutely mesmerised by it. And then, of course, they went on to grow up on that on the Tilton and then the Cop. And I took it's in the book as well. I took some of when we moved to Wales. I took a couple of American lads with me to big Blues games, just to see what they thought of it. They wanted to come and they just couldn't believe the atmosphere was incredible. That kind of thing with a surging crowd and all that. Just magic. That's what it's all about for me. Really. I miss all those days. Anyone who did really, really, it was just something you can't really describe, but it's just kind of ignites your imagination for a young lad.
You did right, Chris. Where was you born and where did you grow up? I
was born. I had a little evening the other night. Really, thanks to everyone who came at the Hare and Hounds, King's Heath.
All right.
I'm a big music fan as well. And the chapters of my book have all got musical references. There's a reason for that, but it's part of the storytelling. But I Hare and Hounds is a fantastic venue, and they get great people playing there.
I love it.
I grew up King's Heath. Born in Howard Road.
Was your mum and dad the publicans, or was you like?
No, they went on to. My dad worked for the Bank of England in Brum, and then they moved to Wales. But we moved to Featherstone Road, and something I found out yesterday, bizarrely, one of the lads who came the other night to the Hare and Hounds, I'd not seen for 49 years.
Really?
Yeah, and Featherstone Road. Further down Featherstone Road were the Campbell brothers, Ali and Robin. Takes us back to what we were just talking about, food for thought. At the end of the game the other night, food for thought. The Campbell, I remember Ali when he was about 8. We used to play football with our next door neighbours were a family called the Shinglers, and Liz Shingler was the manager of the Ian Campbell folk group. Ian Campbell being Ali and Robin's
Of course,
dad.
his dad.
He's no longer with us. But I can remember. So when we left Brum, Ali was a young lad, turned on Top of the Pops years later, and there he was, singing Food for Thought. And I found out yesterday, this is a bizarre one, at the bottom of our garden, we were at the top of Featherstone Road, was living in a house on Grove Road. If you know that, Bramwood Road, Grove Road, Featherstone Road.
Yes, I know.
Right behind, and the end house at Grove Road was Toya Wilcox.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Those just young kids who were same age as me, more or less, just at that time, and they go on to become famous. But yeah, King's Heath is the answer. And then I went to school at Kings Norton Boys Grammar. Funnily enough, Alan Smith, Dirty Villa, he says, he's the most famous kid, the pupil that came out of there, and he was a great footballer. He went to play for Alvechurch, and then he's a nice lad, Alan, really nice. But he was a few years below me, but I don't remember him.
No, Chris, you got that wrong. He was just below you.
Just below me, yeah. It was a couple, but yeah. And he used to be a Blues fan, or somebody gave him a Blues shirt, and he became a Villa fan. I didn't know what it was all about.
What's going on?
Next time I see him, I'm going to give him some serious grief about that.
That ain't right, is it? That ain't right.
It's not right. It's wrong. He's written a book, and that's in his book as well. I'm going to call him up on it when I see him, because it's not on, is it? Really that?
No. Craig, we've had some incredible nominations, haven't we? For
we have. This one is so much
striker
than last week. Stern John is leading the way at the moment, but he's closely followed by McFadden, who has
cool.
So was he underrated? I don't think he was underrated. It was James McFadden.
I think he was probably more.
Has been mentioned numerous times.
Ken Charlery, yeah.
And also in regards to the names that are being put out there was and I don't know where this is coming from, but Steve Claridge has come up quite a few times as well.
Not underrated. He's a great player, Steve. Do you know what? There's a story for you.
Cliggy.
First time I saw Steve Claridge, and if anyone went to this game, I'll be amazed. When it was at the height of our rubbishness, about 1990, I was living down south at the time. We played Aldershot in the Leyland DAF, I think it was, or something, or the League Cup or something like that. Foggy night, Blues fans were banned, and it's the old Aldershot ground with a phone box behind the goal.
Mate, I was in the army in Aldershot. It had like a rounded roof, didn't it?
Had a phone box at one end, and and Steve Claridge destroyed us. He scored 2, I think. We lost 3-0 on a foggy night in the winter. And it was the depths of 1990. Can you remember that? The Blues were rubbish, weren't they? I mean, that was in league, the first season down, I think. They got beaten by 5 at Mansfield, Rotherham, Chester 4, wasn't it? It got thrashed by everybody at that level. Aldershot 3-0 in the Stevie Claridge playing for them scored at least 2. And I thought, this is the lowest of the low. But there you go. Soon got promoted.
Furlong has now also entered the running as an underrated player at the club.
I don't know.
Paul Furlong underrated.
I wouldn't put Paul Furlong into the underrated either.
So who's his son play for now?
Albion.
The Baggies, West Brom.
Yeah,
Yeah. Craig, have you got a squad game as well?
I have indeed. So, Chris, have you got a coin? Chris Brown, that is. Can you toss the coin to see who's going first?
I have. Hang on.
Okay. By the way, if you want anyone else to have a go, I don't mind.
It's a groat. He's got a groat in his pocket.
Call it Paul.
Tails never fails.
A shekel.
It is tails, yep.
Okay.
So, Paul, do you want to go first or second?
Go second.
Okay. Right. So, Mr. Skudder, the squad that we'd like you to name as many players from as possible.
From the 2022.
It's going back a bit, this one. It's 1987 to 1988, where I can tell you the chairman was Ken Weldon. Our manager was Gary Pendry, and that season we finished 19th in the 2nd division. So how many players do you think you can name
from that team?
And just as an interesting fact off that year, We played terribly, but our highest home attendance was 34,494.
34.
Nottingham Forest in the 5th round of the cup.
Do you know what?
I was at that one.
I was working in radio at the time, and I was working at Portsmouth. We're playing Bradford City in the same round of the cup that day, the 5th round of the FA Cup. I was sitting next to Paul Mariner. Remember Paul Mariner? Excellent player. He's as an underrated striker for you, not for Blues, but he played for England and Ipswich. Remember, he was part of that side, that great Ipswich side.
Yeah.
But I do remember that. And there was a load of trouble, wasn't there? It was got really bad.
Yeah, there's a bloke on the scoreboard as well. Yeah, I remember.
Who was playing for Blues? You're asking about that team? Crikey.
So how many players do you think you can name, Chris, from that team?
Okay, this is probably not right, but I've just said another underrated striker. No, he wasn't very good at all. Trevor Aylott.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's around that period, wasn't it?
Good shout. Yeah, I think it was it a bit earlier
A
than
couple
that?
of years later, he was.
Yeah, I was around that period.
Oh, right, okay.
So you've got
Tricky
30
one, isn't it? Okay, we're probably a bit soon for Simon Sturridge, aren't we?
Is someone
Well,
type-
we're going to give. Okay, we're going to give it. It's going to be a timer of 30 seconds.
I'm not
Chris,
going to be
okay?
any of these.
I know.
Ken
Just
Armstrong.
No, okay, hang on. Starting from now.
Ken Armstrong, Dean Peer, John Frayne. Too early for all these, probably. Simon Sturridge, Trevor Aylott, Steve Wigley, Davy Langan. The goalkeeper would have been Montgomery. No.
Time's up.
Rubbish. I didn't get any of those, did I? I was too soon.
Any-
You did actually get some.
Roger Hansbury.
Really?
Yes, there was. You got 2 out of that list. Funnily enough,
well done.
one of the people you thought was too early for was definitely in the running and just started breaking through at that point. John Frayne.
Hey.
Friday.
Ian Clark.
What was the other one?
Didn't he?
Who was the other one?
The other one you mentioned was Steve Wigley.
Yeah.
Steve Wigley.
He scored a Barnsley in the round before, didn't he? He's on Wonder goal.
So what was the goal? Give me the rest of the team, because I'm just trying to.
So your goalkeepers in the squad. Yeah, Roger Hansbury.
Hansbury in goal. Gary Childs, Wigley, Whitton, Bremner, Williams, Caton, Handyside.
Is this from memory, Mark? Is this from memory?
Yeah, no, seriously. No,
What's going on?
I remember that side.
Ian Handyside, did he get a couple of goals at Villa in the year before?
It was.
We won 3-0 there. Didn't he score?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Ian Handyside.
Brian Roberts.
Brian Roberts. A few other names to chuck into the equation.
John Truitt. Vince Overton.
Marky just showing off now.
Sorry, I just remember that team.
Oh, just get off Google, mate, please.
No, seriously, I remember that. I remember going to
Well done.
Forest game.
Go on,
Yeah.
I remember who scored the winning goal. It was Gary Crosby scored. Gary Crosby scored that goal, didn't he?
Gary Crosby?
Yeah.
Scored the winning goal in that game.
Very early as well.
But it was
about 7 minutes.
Yeah, that game was famous for there was a really bad trouble outside afterwards, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was really
Really
nasty.
bad trouble, yeah.
And I remember Vince Overton missed an open goal for about 6 yards. He belted it over the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done, Mark. Well done.
Thank you.
Right then, it's Paul's go.
So, Paul, I reckon you'll absolutely steamroller this one. But this is 2011 to 2012. Chris Hughton was the manager. We finished 4th in the championship. Our highest attendance that season, 28,483 against Blackpool in the semi-final second leg of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And over to you with how many you can name.
I'll go for 15.
Could be a new record if this is set. So, Chris.
On your marks. Get set. Go.
Bose Moyle, Jonathan Spector, Stephen Carr, Stephen Caldwell, Curtis Davies, David Murphy, Chris Burke, Wade Elliott, Garoyan Dor, Mulgaro Gomez, John Bozajour, Nathan Redmond, Marlon King, Chris Wood, Adam Rooney. Now I'm struggling. Andros Townsend, I think, was on loan that season as well. Who else did we have that season? I'm trying to think of backup players.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cameron.
Time's up.
Right. You were just short on your 15. You actually got 12. Right.
So he gets point deducted for that guy.
Oh, you're useless, mate. You're useless.
Oh, I didn't say that. It's well, did I? Can't believe I didn't say
You didn't.
yeah.
Some other names to put into that equation. So you've got Pablo Ibanez.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got Eric Huschklup.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You were right with Andros Townsend. You got Jordan Much, Colin Doyle.
Oh, yeah.
Doyley. Yeah.
You got Nikola Zigic.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Enric Velez.
Yeah.
And I think it's pronounced as Michel.
Michel, yeah.
Michel.
Yeah.
And then a couple of others that you missed, Asante and Jack Butland. But apart from the rest,
wasn't Jerome with us at the start of that season? Then he went to Stoke. I don't think he actually played, though, did he? I don't think he played.
He didn't play, but he was part of the team that started that season. He was part of the squad before he went.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well done. That's it's still another 12, mate. You're still like you are the legend.
You the man.
Very good. Fair play.
You the man.
I wouldn't have got anything.
Can I ask you a question here?
Go on then.
That Nottingham Forest game, 34,000 a gate. Last time Birmingham played at St Andrews in front of a gate over 30,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But there's been one other occasion when there was a crowd of more than 30,000. Who was playing?
Nobody.
Was it National?
No, I think it was. Wasn't it a boxing match?
No.
UB40, wasn't it?
UB40.
Yeah,
Well done.
UB40. Yeah.
The national attendance when we played them in the Europa League that qualifying game couldn't be far off that because there was no way. It was a whole home.
Yeah, but the ground only holds 29.
It's only 29. Yeah. I think it was 29.
I thought it was over 30,000 a couple of times in the Premier. Yeah.
We've not had.
There's 30,000 seats, but with the take out the sterile bit, it's 29.
Yeah.
4 or something.
Yeah.
So that's really surprises me that 34,000 because as we were saying earlier, I mean, late 60s, early 70s, there were 52,000 numerous occasions.
Yeah.
You know, Chris,
I'm just trying to think the last time. This is a good one. The last time there were 52,000 at St Andrews, you know, the old when the Cop was there and the Tilton and you know the old ground as it was before it was changed. What was the last time there was a 52,000 crowd?
Well, there was a 50,000 against Man U, and there was a 49 against Middlesbrough, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was the 75 Cup run.
75 Cup run, yeah.
Probably would have been the 75 Cup run, actually, and that would have been Middlesbrough in the quarter-final.
Yeah.
Between that period, the late 60s, early 70s, there was at least half a dozen 50 at least.
We played Sheffield Wednesday in a replay, and that had
that's right. I went to that game, and then Man United in the following round. Do you remember that?
Yes,
that was Best, Law, and Charlton 2-2 draw night game. That was the 5th round of the cup. The year after we got to the semi-final, 2-2 to St Andrews, and then they beat us 6. They thrashed us at Old Trafford. But Sugar Robinson scoring the equaliser in the 2-2. That was an amazing night. It was a cup. That was a night game as well. It was a night. No, it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't because
yes, it was because it had been
a strike or something.
It was postponed. The weather.
That's right. Yeah, but there was a whole load. So the Sheffield Wednesday, you're right. That was 50,000, and the next round, Man United was 50 as well. And we played United in the league as well, at least twice with 50,000. I remember when we did. The year they got relegated. 74. That was. We beat them 3-1, I think, or was it 1? I think we beat them twice. But every time United came to town, it was always 50,000.
Yeah,
it was a battleground. Do you remember? I mean, the Red Army.
That was actually the last
battleground every single time. Leeds, Don Revie's Leeds, 52,000. That game. I'll tell you exactly when that was. It was just after we left Brum. It was the Christmas of 1973 when they were unbeaten. They went 29 games without defeat. Came to St Andrews. Bob Latchford scored. I remember I was on the cop and I couldn't even stand up. My feet were off the ground. 52,000. And then Joe Bloody Jordan equalised in the 86th minute, 1-1 draw. We nearly ended their unbeaten record.
We had the absolute
numerous 50,000s they were.
Yeah.
Around that
we had the
period.
absolute pleasure of interviewing Dave Latchford a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What a lovely man. What a lovely man.
Yeah, Dave. Went to Bramwood School. Talking about King's Heath, he went to Bramwood School, as did Bob, just up the road from where we were. I was talking to the lad I was at the other night for my book launch, Barry Stanya, and Barry, he remembered when Bob and Trevor came to our school, Kings Norton Boys. Trevor was 18, turned up in his black leather jacket, and Bob was there with his amazing Bob Latchford, because he always looked younger. 10 years.
Still does.
He always younger. When he was 20, he looked older than he did when he's 40. I don't understand.
He makes me sick.
But he did, because he was kind of chunky, wasn't he? And he had that beard.
Yeah.
And he lost weight as he got older. He got more svelte,
Coming back on to, coming back to the underrated 1 to 11. Has anyone said Marcelo?
I've not seen that. No,
not one for Marcelo.
That's a great shout.
More coming in, way more coming in for Stern John in all of this. I mean, to do a county is heads and tails above everybody now.
He is a club legend, really. That
I wouldn't say it was underrated though, but
he scored the goals together.
Legend for scoring at Villa Park.
Yeah.
And at Millwall, obviously got the winner at Millwall as well in the playoffs.
That's in my book. There's a long episode of that in my book, actually. That was an incredible night. I was on the phone to David Gold at 3 a.m, because we were kept in till God knows when. And I was, remember there was a really, 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 really bad riot there that night.
I
remember bumping into Rob McCracken. Rob was there with his brother Spencer, and we were coming out. It was gone midnight when we came out of that ground. Rob said, "Stick with me, Chris, you'll be all right." It was a bit like that. I mean, it was an incredible night, but yeah, that was what an incredible cup run that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we do the last 15. We got the last 10 minutes.
6.
That's 6.
6 minutes.
Just before we go on to that, Pete Taylor has said the last time there were over 50,000 at St Andrews is when they all said you can go and take your old mattress and put it under the stand.
Yeah, well, there you go. Ain't that the truth?
Sure is. Right then, last 15, or what is it? What's our last 15 this week?
Well,
Mr. Courtney.
It's that time of year, isn't it, when the 31st and all our good ladies are out on their witches' broomsticks. So
don't talk about Linda like that.
Well, we can say she's not on tonight. But no, it's anything to do with football and Halloween.
Okay. Kick it off.
Well, I'll kick it off.
Okay.
Kickstart it with, can I have Timo Spooky?
You haven't done it tonight, Chris.
Spooky.
We'll go with the both. John, then John. I've got a feeling we might get a bit of stick.
I agree.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. Charles and Zombie.
That's a good one.
Lucas Dukowicz.
Yeah.
Danny Rose from the dead.
Yeah. It hasn't made me wet myself yet, so it's
That's clever though. Stephen Cauldron, Max Michael Mayers, That Night of the Living Dead. No, don't get that. Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Him a witch.
A witch.
This can only get better. Come on.
Good. What lies ahead for you for the rest of the week? Then, have you out and about, busy in the press?
Sleeping, I think, probably. Doing all kinds of different things, but I'm still working on my World Cup trip, because I'm going out there. I'm kind of winging
So
it.
you're off to Qatar then, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be going out. Yeah, probably for a week or 10 days.
Is that
but
work or
it's
is
really
that
hard. It's a bit of both, I hope. I'm freelance now, so.
I don't think they'll let you stand in the sea with your skids on.
No, that's a bit different. Yeah, but it's going to be a tricky trip. In so much as it's really, really expensive. The tickets for this World Cup are just incredibly expensive. There are some cheaper ones, but for 60 quid, but category 3 for the group games. But by the time you get to the sort of semi-finals and the final, you're talking over $1,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's a true story, right? And this is
Chris, are you talking for a ticket?
Yeah.
£1,000.
Yeah, £1,000. Yeah.
Oh man.
The cheapest for the final are $550, and that's in the practically in the in the corner, so it's the very lowest. I think for a decent ticket to final, it's 1,500 quid.
Ah, come on! I remember we had absolutely
Completely
mad.
agree.
We went up to 10 bob at St Andrews. 10 bob for a football.
Here's a story for you, and you might not believe this is true, but it is. I went to when I was in Brazil, and that was an amazing trip. It really was. I went to the 7-1 game. Do you remember the 7-1 game? Brazil,
Germany. Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
And just being in that crowd, it was just unforgettable because they didn't know what was going on. The 5-0 down in 20 minutes. Semi-final. But that's not the story. That I won't remember it for that. Well, I will. But I bought a ticket for that. It cost me €650 for the semi-final. Right. This is in 2014. Wow. Got to the stadium in Belo Horizonte, and it was kind of out by a lake, and you had to get sort of bus to shuttle you out there. Got to the ground. I thought that's going to be a really good ticket. It's going to be right on the halfway line, halfway up. Going to be really good. Got there. Thought, right, where's my sort of, took in the atmosphere. Went into the stadium. Went to find my seat. I can't remember what the number of it was, but I kept climbing. Got to the top. Still hadn't found my seat. Looked along the line. There was a glass panel. My seat.
Really?
FIFA charged me €650 for a ticket that did not exist.
Wow.
Right?
What did you do?
There's a picture in the book of there was 20 of us roughly in the same boat. I had steam coming out my ears, you can imagine.
I can imagine, yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And so I said, right, there's all these, they're all Brazilians, all the others. And some of them spoke English. I said, look, give me all your email addresses and we'll go to town on this. I'm not having that, because there's been scandals about the ticket and all the corruption and everything. Always is with these things. I traced it back to a company in Manchester who did the ticketing. So when I got back, I just blew them up. I said, what are you doing? You can't do this. And they said some crap about, it's a bit like when you book a plane, you overbook it. No, you don't. You don't charge people for a ticket that doesn't exist. So I shamed them. I would have destroyed them. And, I would have gone to the papers, and they would have loved that because it was a good story. I thought, wow. They instantly refunded me, so I got to see the game for nothing. Because what happened, I just said, I found the nearest seat on the halfway line that wasn't occupied and refused to move. I said, I'm going to sit there. There were some telly seats, and I sat and nobody said a word. And to be fair, all the Brazilian the stewards are all kind of young kids, and you can't help but like Brazilians because they just smile and everything. And they were lovely, but I was so cross with FIFA. How can you do this? There was a story earlier in the tournament where a British guy there was a scandal about ticketing, and that's where I traced it all back to. They just messed it up, and the prices in Qatar are just scandalous in my opinion, and they're really hard to get. And you can't get accommodation unless you have a ticket, and you can't get a visa unless you got accommodation. So you've got to jump through hoops. And I talked to one of the Blues lads who's going to as well, Roger Fairclough. I don't know if you know Roger, he's a great lad. He's staying on a cruise ship for God knows how much a night. So the whole thing for me is you should be able to turn up to these things and just enjoy the experience. You haven't got to have tickets for the games because the magic of going to any away or just a World Cup or any away day is that kind of when you mingle with everybody. It's just great. It doesn't matter if you haven't got a ticket, in my opinion. You can watch it if you got Fan Park, or just watching it among all the population. It's just as good, trust me. And you make friends, it's
just rapidly, because I know we're reaching the end of the show. Shall we do predictions for Wednesday night and Saturday? Millwall at home and Stoke.
Spectre.
Keep Fright on.
Keep Fright on.
Yeah.
That's worse than mine, that is, Mark. I'm sorry, but
Nick,
calls for the pumpkin, I think, doesn't it?
Nick, the one for you, mate. Just because everybody does it every week, but Dealey had a bowl of sweets.
Dealey had a bowl of sweets.
Oh, a bowl of pumpkins. Yeah.
Do you know
a bowl of Bob the apples. A bowl of apples for Bob.
All right, then predictions, Alan.
Who's guilty for that one?
2-0 and 1-0.
2-0, 1-0. Craig?
2-0 and 2-0 to Blues.
2-0. Nick?
I'm going 3-0.
3-0.
We hate Millwall and we hate Millwall.
I'm going to go
play Saturday as well.
3-1. We'll beat Millwall 3-1 and we'll beat Stoke 1-0.
1-0. Paul?
I'm going to go 2-1 Wednesday and 1-1 on Saturday.
Chris?
Yeah, I think Paul's got it right there. I think I'll go 2-1 and a draw as well. Maybe 0-0 Stoke, but 4 points.
No. Listen, Chris, I live in between Stoke and Derby. We're going to knock 7 colours out of them this week. So I want to eat a bag of chips. That's all they ever eat in Stoke is chips. Sunday night chips.
Okay.
Okay. Sunday night chips. Right.
Right, do you want to do the outro, Nick?
Bag of chips every time we beat Stoke. And I'm going to have
looking like
humongous portion.
It's looking like Stern Johnny's.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Tilton Talk Show. We keep right on. We keep right to the end of the road. That road.
End of the road. There it is. Look.
Single one of us at some junction. Our roads will come to an end. Give your heart, your life, and your soul to your football. I ain't joking. You know what? It's all that matters. Your football. Ladies and gentlemen, what beautiful people we've been with tonight. Chairman of the board, Alan Watson.
Good night, everybody.
Well, it's Craig Courtney.
Sorry. Well, losing my voice. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night and look out for some fantastic details around our charity event.
Seriously, the costumes tonight have been awesome. I promise you. Mark.
Good night, everyone. Have a good week. Might see some of you at the Blues. Come and say hello. There's a couple of people said hello on the other night. So yeah, take care, everyone.
The bloke who I wish I could take his brain out and put it in my head. Paul Hipkiss.
Good night, everyone. Pleasure as always.
And the best man at my wedding, my best friend ever in life, because I'm not a blokey person, but I do love this guy loads. Chris Skudder.
Just get it out. Get it round. There's time magic. Oh, look.
Chris Brown, man. Chris Brown.
Good evening.
Right.
Chill.
As if by magic.
Thanks again for hosting this, Chris. I know how much work you put into this in the background. I know how much work Craig does in the background and Watto does with his blogs, and Mark does nothing. But ladies and gents, an absolute pleasure and a joy. Blue Nose, a proper Blue Nose, who is right up there in the journalistic and reporting and TV punditry and one thing and another. Chris Skudder, great guy, lovely man. God bless you, mate. You live in Windsor.
Thanks for inviting me.
Cheers, Chris.
You live in Windsor, Chris?
Yeah, down south. Not many Blue Noses around this
posh bit.
You're in the sink down there, don't you?
What's that?
I bet I say you're that posh. You'll get out of the bathtub and we in the sink down there, don't you?
Something like that, yeah.
Chris, you can join us anytime, mate. You're a Blue.
Yeah, listen, really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
We love you, what more can we say? We have the cheapest tops